everyone, my name is Ro. I will be your yoga fitness instructor today for 45 minutes. Today is January 29th. Happy Friday. So for our yoga fitness class, it is our beginner yoga class here at UREC. We will just be going through some simple motions, sitting down, warming up, and then transitioning into our standing poses, ending in our peak pose, which is tree pose, and then slowly cooling down, ending in Savasana. So whenever you're ready, if you could just join me in a child's pose to start our class, that would be great. Sending your glutes back onto your heels and extending your arms out towards the top of your mat. Feel free to take this traditional or wide-legged. If you're wide-legged, just sending your knees out slightly past your hips. And gently placing your forehead down on your mat. As we're in our child's pose here, just gently trying to focus in on our breath. The breath is very important throughout our practice today. It is something that will guide us through every motion, will keep us grounded and maintaining balance. Maybe as we gently warm up here, pressing the palms of our hands slightly on our mats, feeling that slight stretch in our shoulders. Taking just a couple more breaths here. As we're in our child's pose, maybe thinking about an intention that you want to set for today. Something that you hope to achieve either by the end of class or the end of the day or however long you want. Something that you want to just focus on. My intention for today is perseverance. You're more than welcome to borrow my intention or choose one of your own, whatever you would like. And whenever you're ready, on that next inhale, slowly lifting up, rounding out through that spine, and sitting down on our sit bones here, meeting me in a seated position. We're going to warm up our neck here. So on our next inhale, lifting up the chest, filling up those lungs, feeling free to close your eyes if you would like. And exhaling as we slowly lower our head down into some neck circles. Listening to your bodies here, letting the breath guide you through every movement. Feeling each stretch as we elongate to one side and then the other. Feeling free to switch to the other side if you haven't done so already. Remembering to keep breathing here as we gently warm up our necks, our upper bodies. Maybe switching into some neck tilts here. So sending your ear over to one shoulder, but making sure not to lift up your shoulders here. Just keep a nice relaxed stance. And sending it over to the other side. Making sure not to overextend the neck here, only going wherever feels comfortable for you today. And whenever you're ready, just gently meeting me back in a neutral position. Maybe rolling out their shoulder blades to open up the chest. On our next inhale, we're sweeping our arms up overhead. Bring those lungs up. And exhaling as we come back down. Releasing the breath here. Inhaling as we extend our arms back up. And exhaling as we slowly lower our palms together over heart center. On our next inhale, taking that right palm, sending it on top of your left knee, taking that other arm and gently twisting. Trying to open up your chest here, over to that left side. Maybe with every breath, just twisting just a little bit deeper. And slowly untwisting back to center. Switching over to the other side now. So taking that left palm, placing it on top of your right knee, and bringing that other hand around. Slightly twisting here. Feeling that slight twist in your lower spine. Maybe gently bringing that head over to your right shoulder. Going just a little bit deeper with every stretch, but making sure to listen to your bodies no matter what. And gently untwisting here. So transitioning into our tabletop position now. Coming on all fours here. Spreading out our legs hip distance apart as well as our arms, making sure that our shoulders are stacked over our wrists and that our hips are stacked over our ankles, or our knees. On our next inhale, dropping that belly down towards our mat, bringing our gaze up towards the ceiling. Cow. Filling up those lungs. And exhaling as we round out through that spine, bringing that gaze towards the back of the mat. Cat. Inhaling as we drop that belly down towards our mat again, bringing that gaze up gently towards the ceiling. Cow. And exhaling as we round out through that spine, tucking that tailbone towards our belly button. Cat. Feeling free to take this at your own breath, at your own pace. Maybe going for 3 more rotations for each one. Making sure to follow your breath here, listening to your bodies. Whenever you're ready, just meeting me in a neutral tabletop position. Again, just readjusting here, making sure again that our shoulders are stacked over our wrists, and that our hips are stacked over our knees. Our gaze is out slightly in front of our fingertips. On our next inhale, we're going to tuck those toes under our body. And exhaling as we extend up into our downward dog. Feeling free to walk the dog here, shifting the weight from one leg to the other, releasing any tension in the backs of those legs, making sure that our gaze is still towards the back of the mat so that we are not straining or hurting our neck. Moving into our first vinyasa flow here. So on our next inhale, shifting our weight over into a high plank. Option to drop down to your knees if you would like. Exhaling as we slowly lower our bodies down towards our mat, making sure our elbows are pinned against us. And inhaling as we lift up into our first form of back bend, which is baby cobra. Only lifting our chest up slightly above our mats, bringing that gaze out in front of us. Inhaling as we tuck those toes back under our bodies, pushing ourselves back up into our downward dog. Again, maybe taking the time to walk the dog here, shifting your weight from one leg to the other,
as we're gently warming up from head to toe. On our next inhale, shifting that weight back over into a high plank, making sure that there's a straight line from the crown of our head down towards our heels. Exhaling as we slowly lower our bodies down towards our mat, head first and then hips. And inhaling as we lift our chest up into our second back bend of today, which is full cobra. Bringing that gaze out directly in front of us, feeling that slight stretch in our lower backs. And exhaling as we completely come back down into our child's pose. Again, sending those glutes onto your heels and extending your hands up towards the top of your mat. Child's pose will be available all throughout our class today. If you're maybe not comfortable with any of the other poses or would prefer to be in child's pose, you are more than welcome to do so. If you are in child's pose here, maybe gently massaging your forehead, swaying your head from side to side on your mat. On your next inhale, tucking those toes back under our bodies again, and exhaling as we extend back up into our downward dog. On our next inhale, shifting that gaze up towards the top of the mat, and slowly walking your feet up to meet your hands in a forward fold. Giving yourself as generous of a bend as you need here today, maybe shifting the weight from one leg to the other. Making sure that your head is hanging heavy here, not holding any tension in that neck, letting your arms relax. Maybe gently grabbing onto your opposite elbows and swaying from side to side. Making sure to keep breathing here. So on our next inhale, gently lifting up into a half lift, bringing those hands on top of the shins or on top of the thighs, bringing that gaze up towards the top of your mats. And exhaling as we bring it back down into our forward fold. Inhaling as we reverse swan dive up into mountain pose. Bringing those palms facing each other, gaze up towards the ceiling. For a little bit more of a stretch, you can take an optional mini back bend here. And exhaling as we sweep our hands back down into our forward fold. Again, taking a couple of breaths here, shifting the weight from one leg to the other. Giving yourself as generous of a bend as you need here today. Releasing any tension in the backs of those legs, backs of the knees. On our next inhale, slowly bringing our hands back up onto our shins or on top of our thighs into our half lift, making sure our back is as flat as possible here. Exhaling as you release back down into our forward fold. And inhaling as we reverse swan dive up into mountain pose. Again, palms facing each other, gaze up towards the ceiling. Optional mini back bend here for a little bit more of a stretch. Just following your hands, only going wherever feels comfortable for you today. And exhaling, sweeping our hands back down. This time placing the palms of our hands back down on our mats and gently walking our feet back into a downward dog. Going through our second vinyasa flow series here. So on our next inhale, shifting your weight back over into a high plank. Option to drop down to your knees if you would like. Exhaling as we slowly lower our bodies down towards our mat, making sure our elbows are pinned against us. And inhaling up into our third choice of back bend, which is up dog. If you are in up dog, slowly hovering those knees gently over our mats, lifting up our chest, coming back down, placing those knees back on our mat, and sending our glutes back up towards the ceiling into our downward dog. Feeling free to follow your own pace, your own breath in this next series, choosing whatever form of back bend you would like, and meeting me in a child's pose whenever you're ready. Adjusting myself. Just coming back into that breath if you are in your child's pose. Allowing yourself to relax here. The mind benefits from stillness and the body benefits from movement. Tucking those toes back under our bodies and extending our legs back up into our downward dog. On our next inhale, shifting our weight back over into a high plank. This time bringing that right foot in between our hands, dropping that left knee down on our mat, and untucking that toe in a low lunge. Whenever you feel balanced and ready, gently bringing up your chest and meeting me here in our low lunge. Options to keep your hands on your hips, placed on top of your knee, or inhaling them overhead. Just taking a couple of breaths wherever you are at, feeling that gentle stretch in the upper thighs. Maybe with every breath, trying to challenge yourself, going just a little bit deeper, opening up the hips a little bit more. Just a couple more breaths here, really feeling that stretch. And wherever you are at, slowly exhaling, placing the palms of your hands back down on your mat, tucking that left toe back under our bodies, and extending that right leg back into our downward dog. Switching over to the other side now. So on our next inhale, shifting our weight over into a high plank, bringing that left foot in between our hands, dropping that right knee back down on our mat and untucking that toe. And on that next inhale, slowly lifting your chest up, meeting me in a low lunge. As we're in our low lunge here, making sure that you're still able to see your toes in front of your knee and that your knee is not passing over your toes, as well as making sure that your hips are still square towards our mats. Placing your hands wherever feels most comfortable for you today. And just taking a couple of breaths here, opening up the hips. And from wherever you are at, gently exhaling, placing our hands back down on our mat, tucking that right toe back under, and extending that left leg back into our downward dog. Feeling free to take your own vinyasa flow here, choosing your own form of back bend, maybe going for 2 flows, or challenging yourself and going for 3 before moving into our standing series. And either meeting me in a child's pose or coming back into that downward dog. Whatever you would like for class today. No matter where you are at, just letting yourself come into fruition with that pose. Clearing your mind space, trying to focus only on yourself and these next couple of minutes to start off your day. So wherever you are at, if you're in child's pose, just tucking those toes back under your body and extending up into our downward dog. On our next inhale, shooting that right leg up into a 3-legged dog, making sure to flex through the heel here and not the toe, only lifting up as high as you can while maintaining your hips square towards the mat. Shifting that weight over into a high plank, bringing that right knee up towards our nose and placing it in between our hands here, this time not dropping that left knee down on our mats. On our next inhale, bringing our hands up and out into our warrior 2 pose. Turning that back foot 90 degrees so that it's parallel towards the back of our mats. Extending our arms out in a T position. Making sure that our knee is stacked over our ankle. And that is, we are still able to see our toes in front of our knee. Bringing that gaze over towards those right fingertips. And just taking a couple of breaths here. On our next inhale, turning that front palm up to face the ceiling and exhaling as we sweep our arms back into reverse warrior. Options to keep your left palm on top, on the side of the leg here, or wrapped around the back, as well as option to keep your gaze up towards the ceiling or down towards the mat. Making sure that we're still putting our weight into that front right leg here and that we're not straightening out that leg. And whenever you're ready, slowly exhaling, bringing our hands back out into our warrior 2. Allowing yourself a couple of breaths here, straightening out that front leg and bending back down. Maybe taking a couple of shoulder rolls here. Opening up the chest, allowing for more airflow. As we gently come back down into our warrior 2, maybe challenging yourself and going just a little bit deeper. On our next inhale, hinging at those hips, reaching forward, straightening that front leg, and exhaling as we sweep our arms down into our triangle pose. Options again to keep that gaze up towards the ceiling or down towards the mat, as well as option to keep your hand placed down on your mat, on top of your foot, on top of your shin, wherever is comfortable for you today. Trying to really open up the chest here, trying to align those shoulder blades as best as we can. Feeling that slight core engagement, maybe a little bit of a stretch in the obliques. Just a couple more breaths. You guys got this. And on our next inhale, slowly bending through that front right knee, lifting our chest back up into our warrior two. And just holding it here for a couple of breaths. On our next exhale, cartwheeling our hands back down, pivoting that back foot, and extending our right leg back in our downward dog. Feeling free to take a couple of breaths here, releasing any tension in the backs of those legs. I will be switching to the other side now. Before moving into our other side, which will be our left leg, or whatever side you didn't choose last time. On our next inhale, inhaling that left leg up in a three-legged dog. Again, making sure that we're flexing through the heel here, and our hips are still square towards our mats. Gently bringing it over into a high plank, bringing that left knee up towards our nose and placing it down in between our hands. On our next inhale, slowly lifting up the chest, bringing our arms up and out into our warrior two. Again, pivoting that back foot 90 degrees. Making sure that that front heel is running in a straight line with the back arch of our right foot. And bringing that gaze up to our left fingertips. Just letting the breath guide us here, listening to your bodies no matter what. On our next inhale, turning that front palm up to face the ceiling again, and exhaling as we sweep it back into a reverse warrior. Again, options if you would like, placing that right hand on the back of that leg, or wrapping it around your back. Slightly engaging your core muscles here, maybe spreading out those toes, really gripping into our mats, feeling grounded. And on our next exhale, slowly sweeping our arms back out into warrior two. Allowing yourself a couple of breaths here, releasing any tension that you may be feeling in that front left thigh. Gently doing some shoulder rolls here, opening up the chest. We got this, just a little bit more. So slowly coming back into our warrior two. Maybe challenging yourself and going just a little bit deeper into your mats. Feeling that slight burn in the upper quad. On our next inhale, hinging at those hips, reaching forward, straightening that front leg, and exhaling as we sweep down into our triangle pose. Again, options to place your hand back down on your mat, on top of your foot, on top of your shin, or maybe a little bit further up, wherever is most comfortable for you today. Just breathing here in our triangle pose, trying to align our shoulder blades, gently twisting our lower spine. on our next inhale, bending through that front left knee, bring your hands back out into a T position, warrior two. And on our next exhale, cartwheeling our hands back down, placing the palms of our hands on our mat, turning that back foot 90 degrees, and sending our left foot back into our downward dog. Feeling free to go through however many vinyasas you would want here, choosing your own form of back bend, and meeting me either in a child's pose or in down dog, whatever you prefer for class today. If you would want a little bit more of a workout, maybe going for 3 flows and then coming up in a down dog. But it is whatever you prefer for class today. This is all about benefiting you, listening to our bodies, and doing what is best for us today. If you are in child's pose here, maybe noticing a little bit of a difference in the stretch, the distance between your glutes and your heels. And maybe gently pressing the palms of your hands into your mat, spreading your fingertips, feeling that slight stretch in the shoulder blades. Moving into our final standing pose, our peak pose, which will be tree for today. On our next inhale, tucking those toes back under our bodies and extending into our downward dog if you aren't there already. Inhaling as we shift our gaze up towards the top of our mats and either floating or walking your hands or your feet up to meet your hands in a forward fold. On our next inhale, slowly reverse swan dive up into mountain pose. And exhaling as we gently bring those palms together, lowering them over heart center. And slowly bringing them down to our sides. On our next inhale, we're going to gently bring that left foot up, either on the side of the calf or on the side of the thigh for our tree pose, making sure that we're not putting any pressure on that knee joint. Trying to open up our hips here, making sure that there's evenly distributed weight on that standing foot as well. Option to keep your hands over heart center, out towards the side, or up overhead. Just letting your breath guide you here. Maybe gently tucking those hip bones under here so that we're not leaning too much forwards or too much backwards. For a little bit more of a challenge, maybe closing your eyes and trying to maintain balance. It is totally okay if you fall in and out of it. That is the best part. We all start somewhere.
Whenever you're ready, slowly exhaling from wherever you are at, bringing that left foot back down on our mats. Maybe shifting our weight from one leg to the other, shaking it out here before moving into our other side. So on our next inhale, inhaling that right foot up, either on the side of the calf again, or up on the inner thigh. Making sure again to not put any pressure in that knee joint. Trying to gently open up our hips here, maintaining our hips square. Options again to place your hands over heart center, down on the sides, or inhaling them up overhead. Maybe fixating on one spot in the room. It definitely will help you balance a little bit more. Making sure that we have evenly distributed weight here, that our shoulders are pulled away from our ears as well. And just taking a couple of breaths here. Again, if you would like to challenge yourself just a little bit more, maybe closing your eyes. Letting your toes grip onto your mat to help you for balance, spreading out those toes, becoming grounded. Maybe thinking back on that intention that you set for class today. And wherever you are at, slowly exhaling, bringing that foot back down. Place on your mat again. If you would want, gently wiggling out your body here, shifting the weight from one leg to the other. On our next inhale, circle sweeping those arms up into mountain pose. And exhaling as we reverse swan dive back down. Placing the palms of our hands back down on our mat, slowly walking our feet back into our downward dog. Again, optional vinyasa here. Choosing your own form of back bend, listening to your bodies, following your own breath. And whenever you're ready, just meeting me in a child's pose as we transition into our cool down series. Just taking one last child's pose as a class. Gonna relax here for a little bit. Letting our mind come down onto our mats from wherever it has wandered. Feeling all of the stretches that we have completed so far. Maybe noticing a difference in your flexibility from the start of class to now. Again, thinking back on that intention, feeling happy no matter where you're at. Thanking yourselves for taking the time of day to do this class. Taking 2 more breaths here, trying to maybe hold at the top as you inhale. And slowly releasing out the breath. Trying to pull that belly up. And whenever you're ready, slowly inhaling
rounding through that spine, swinging those hips, or bringing those glutes down on our mat, swinging those feet around to meet me in a seated position, placing the palms of our hands gently on either sides of our body, inhaling, lifting our chest up, filling up those lungs, and exhaling as we slowly lower our bodies down, one vertebrae at a time, trying to challenge yourself and going super slow here until everything meets the ground. Slowly exhaling, bringing your legs completely flat on the mat. If you have anything like a ponytail or anything restricting from the back of your neck being completely flat on your mat, you're more than welcome to take it out if you are comfortable with that. Maybe gently rolling those shoulder blades back so that they are completely flat on our mat, untucking those hips. Taking just a couple of breaths here, letting your body become familiar towards your mat on the back side. On our next inhale, slowly bring your hands up into a T position. Palms facing up towards the ceiling. And inhaling that right foot up, bending slightly at the knee. And exhaling it over to the left side of our bodies into a supine twist. Making sure that we are keeping both of our shoulder blades flat on our mat here as we are twisting over. Just taking a couple of breaths here. For a little bit more of a stretch, gently twisting your head over your right shoulder for a full spinal twist. Maybe feeling a slight stretch in the lower back. Maybe taking that left hand and grabbing onto that right knee, gently bringing it up a little bit higher if you would like. And on our next exhale here, slowly untwisting fully, bringing that right leg back up, bringing both of our hips back down on our mat, and slowly exhaling as we lower our right leg back down, flat on our mats. On our next inhale, bringing that left leg up this time, bending at the knee. Exhaling as we slowly lower it down towards our right side of the body this time, into our supine twist. Again, making sure that both of our shoulder blades are flat on our mats here. Just letting yourself breathe into the stretch, releasing any tension in that spine. For a little bit more of a stretch here, gently twisting your head over your left shoulder for a full spinal twist. And if you would like, for a little bit deeper of a stretch, taking that right palm And grabbing onto your knee, lifting it slightly, feeling it just a little bit more in that lower back. And gently untwisting here on your next breath, placing our hips back down on our mat, bringing that left foot up. And slowly lowering it back down onto our mats. This time completely relaxing, bringing those hands back down on the sides of our bodies. Taking a full body stretch here, so on our next inhale, bringing those arms up towards the top of our mat and stretching to either extremities here, maybe pointing through those toes and flexing through those fingers for a full body stretch. And exhaling here as we come into our final pose for today's class, Savasana. If you feel that you need to take a couple more poses for today, you're more than welcome to do so. And if you would like to join me for Savasana, that is also perfect as well. Options to place your hands out towards the sides of your bodies, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Another option is to place both of your hands on top of your belly. And another option, if you would like, is to place one hand on top of your belly and another one over your heart. Whatever is most comfortable for you today. Just gently letting your body relax here. Maybe rolling those shoulder blades back so that they are flat on our mats. Just letting your mind wander here, coming out of focus. Maybe gently giving one last thought into that intention. Releasing any tension, possibly in between the eyebrows or in the jaw. Releasing that tongue that is on top. Gently fluttering your eyes closed if you haven't done so already. Gently bringing some awareness back into the body here. Maybe coming back into that breath. Gently elongating that breath. Maybe wiggling your fingers and your toes to regain some feeling. Swallowing a couple of times. Maybe doing some circles with your wrists and your ankles. Gently fluttering your eyes open if you haven't done so already. And taking one more full body stretch here, so extending those arms up overhead. Stretching towards your hands, your fingertips, and your toes. And slowly twisting over to your favorite side here, using your bicep as a pillow. And gently raising yourself up, meeting me in a seated position to take one final breath as a class. On our next inhale, sweeping our arms up overhead, palms facing each other, gaze up towards the ceiling. And exhaling as we lower our hands over, bringing those palms together, lowering them over heart center. Namaste means the divine light in me honors the divine light in each and every one of you. Feel free to say it to me if you would like, and if not, that's totally okay. Namaste. I hope you all have a great rest of your week and your weekend, and thank you for joining me for our virtual yoga fitness class.